Okay, timeless. So this is just in response to a recent tarot reader. Mind you, I know that when they do their videos, they're not actually trying to per se like interact with you. It's more of just like using you to prop them up so they imagine that you're there, right? But anyway, apparently people are tuning in as I'm talking about this because they don't want me to elaborate further. Yeah, I know. Um, how can I put it? Let me see if I can recall again. Yeah, they don't want me talking about it. People are like, it must be now too, like people listening in, and then they're also trying to, what is that, your crown chakra? So I'm assuming that it has to also do, there's memory swipes. So memory swipes can be stemming from different things. So you think of people listening in or people attacking, what is that, your crown chakra? Oh, and they don't want you talking about shit. That's interesting. Yeah, they do. So okay, now I'm remembering this coming, my recall is coming back now. Okay, so they'll speak for you for the sake of content in the present time, but and play you to speak for you for the sake of content in present time. It doesn't mean that it's like they're through that present time they're controlling how you're seen. It doesn't mean that in the past that you weren't aware of, i.e., quote unquote, thinking negatively. Yeah, because there was a reader, I know there was a reader, I forget her name. I haven't watched her in a while. Yeah, she mentioned, like, I was watching a read, it was toward for Aries, and she mentioned that I was thinking negatively towards the elderly woman. Yeah, so it was like I knew it like a while ago. So it's funny when this other reader acts like, "Oh, you'll realize when it's too late" or some shit. So it's like it's kind of more like someone's kind of like really setting you up for failure for the sake of content material and building blocks basically or some shit. Yeah, some like weird shit. But no, it doesn't surprise me. I know there's different ways of building and styles or whatever, ways of going about building, yeah. But yeah, um I know I will break illusions when I just speak about shit or whatever. In me speaking up just period about anything and everything, yeah. Yeah, so it's like I've known about that stuff. So just like there was even another reader that even warned Leo in the past, and there's something I think I may have watched like a couple of times, and it said that I was like really someone's foe or something. Yeah, so like no, like basically in other words, it was like I was already subdued from the gate in my present situation. Yeah, and looked in uh, they wanted to keep me in the specific like job or position or kind of like shit like that. Yeah, and it was just basically like along the lines of like a slave, servant, maid, caretaker, stuff like that. But it wasn't necessarily like it's so like people can project to keep you small or only associate uh basically a certain level of intelligence with you, and it's also to keeping you small is also means to they just wanted to project prejudices and or racism also at you, really. So I mean, you kind of have, it's like you have to look at it in one of two ways. You look at things based off of the doorway and the doorway and either side the doorway as a whole, but you also look at things on like an individual basis overall. Yeah, and it's like too, it's not to say that people are necessarily bad people because you understand like we all start at the bottom basically, which is true. Yeah, and it's like, like things are meant to kind of just be like how, however sort of way for like a period of time, but yeah, it's like still it doesn't defeat the fact of basically what I just stated, which is it is like basically an insult to another individual's like intelligence. And not only that, it's actually an insult to their ethnicity, race, their bloodline. And it's like looking at someone as a peasant or a slave, versus and treating them like a peasant slave. Yeah, versus like looking at someone, treating them like an empress or a queen or a king or like shit like that. Granted, mind you, I understand like it's like you gotta like embody something first before you're like viewed that way. Yeah, so it's like, it's like one of those like hand in hand catch-22 sort of things, sort of gig, right? Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But yeah, it's kind of like at the gate, it's like people expecting you also to do like work for like free or some shit like that. But it's like, I know, I guess I'm like one to talk because it's like, and because the fact that someone had been paying so much amount of thousands of dollars before for like, what's that, the caretaker stuff, hospice or whatever. Yeah, so it's just kind of like, for me, it's like I already took it as an insult there already too, because of that too. Yeah, so it's like basically, in other words, it's not to say that it's like, what is that saying? You pay for what you get. So basically, in other words, too, like if you want like to receive like value and respect from someone, I guess it's kind of like you need to put that out from the get go. Yeah, so it was kind of like one of those like weird situations or something, but I don't know. It's like you can understand it from the Vesca Pisces point of view and understand like you need space. Anyone and everyone needs space to learn and grow and develop. Yeah, so it's just kind of like it is what it is, but it's like too, it's like you also come to terms like if you just don't really care for someone, you just don't, it's like you're not going to like keep dwelling on it or
So
whatever.